Very excited back here on Radio Row with, I will say it, one of my favorite people from NFL Network, the great Steve Wyche. Steve, it's so good to see you, man. And you and I were talking a second ago that, you know, when you're the host team, you have these host duties, right? And everyone asks you where to go to restaurants and, hey, do I take this road or that road? But how has it been for you? We're getting later into the week. How has Vegas treated you thus far, my friend?
I mean, look, it's great. You know, I love coming to Vegas. I love dealing with the Raiders. I was telling you, my father's like the biggest Raiders fan, going back to the Snake and Cliff Branch and Dave Casper. So it's good. But I mean, like, you being the host city, I mean, that's like having a destination wedding where everyone's coming in and, like you said, asking you everything. So you have this burden, and you guys are upholding the duty well. Well done.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's the least we can do. But, you know, I was thinking we've had an opportunity to talk to so many people just about Vegas this week. And I think one thing that's really stuck with me is there's been this constant theme of there's a bit of a surprise in a positive way about how Vegas, the perception of Vegas has changed in less than a decade.
Yeah.
Are you surprised from your position at the network how quickly it feels like Vegas, the league has opened its arms to Vegas, Vegas has opened their arms right back?
Absolutely, to some degree, you know, when the whole gambling standpoint. In terms of the city, though, like, who puts on the big event better than Vegas, right? That's why so many conventions come here, so many big concerts and things like that. It's been the history of the city. And the fact that it's shown they can have the Formula One races, that he can have the NBA All-Star Game, and now the Super Bowl. And it's going to be great. When this is all said and done, everyone's going to talk about how great of a job that the city did, that the state of Nevada did. I mean, I'm sure this will be part of the rotation, so to speak, when it comes back to having another Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we're hoping for that, and it's been really cool for us to kind of see the city of Las Vegas, the people of Southern Nevada, the people of the state of Nevada kind of get their moment in the sun and show off their civic pride. It's been a blast. But, you know, going back to this year, Steve, and you and I joke all the time, the silver and black, we are never boring, right? We stay in the news. We have much to talk about. Antonio Pierce gets the interim tag taken off, and really for us, it felt like there was the pre-November 1 version of the Raiders, and then the post-November 1 version of the Raiders. And when Antonio came in and he changed the vibe in that locker room, he got all these guys pulling in the same direction. From your perspective, what did he do that ultimately worked for the Silver and Black?
I think he let the players be the players. And this is like when you hear people talk about Andy Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs, his sustaining philosophy is, I'm going to treat you like a man until you make me not be able to do that. And I think that's what Antonio did. He's a former player. He understands how these guys feel, and he let them be themselves. And that, you could see it on the field, how much fun they were having. You saw the post-game stuff, the smoking the cigars, him screaming Raiders. Now the thing is going to be sustaining that. Okay, we've seen in any sport when an assistant coach takes over, the assistant coach is closer to the players. There's far more interaction between players and assistant coach than players and head coach. And now that CEO element has to come in where you're overseeing everything, where you have to make tough decisions, where you have to hurt feelings and speak to players sometimes in ways you didn't have to before. If he can keep that balance of delegating coaching, right? He's talked about Patrick Graham and Luke Getsy, and let them do their thing, but also coach his coaches, hold them accountable in ways where players see, okay, we're all on the same level. I think it's going to be continued success, you know, especially when you have a guy like Maxx Crosby say, it's got to be AP or I want out.
You know, and it's so interesting to you. You bring up Max and kind of his vocal support of AP, and Max certainly was not the only one, maybe the loudest, biggest, most important voice in that conversation. But, you know, what does it say about Mark Davis, you know, kind of hearing the heartbeat of that team, hearing the heartbeat of that locker room and saying, hey, if my guys, if 1 to 53 want this guy to be the guy, I kind of got to hold up my end of the bargain and make sure that he's in position to do that.
It says a lot, but there's always a trap door to that. Again, I've covered sports long enough to know that if players really like a guy, then it's you know, again, when that guy's got to make that tough decision, they can turn real quick. They can turn so fast on that guy. Like, hey, I thought we were good. Now you're benching me? Now you're putting this dude in over me? Or why is this guy doing that? And then all of a sudden, hey, that too close for comfort relationship all of a sudden becomes uncomfortable. So the fact that Mark Davis had Reid on his team and said, okay, great, we're going to give AP this shot, because I think he does have that respect as a former player and a damn good one who was a middle linebacker, who was the captain of a great Giants team, you know, with Strahan, with OC, with guys like that. I think that speaks volumes rather than starting over and bringing in from somebody outside the culture to try to kickstart it once again.
And I think one thing that AP had going for him is over that last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season, Steve, he beat every team in the AFC West. Hard thing to do for anyone,
Yes.
especially an interim coach. But now going into 2024, we look at this division again. Jim Harbaugh's in town. Sean Payton, probably a new quarterback there. Andy Reid, they're playing on Sunday. What do the Raiders have to do to make sure that the end of the season is not the end of the story, but really the beginning of hopefully some sustained success for the Silver and Black?
That's a great question. I think the first and most important thing is to continue playing defense the way they played. That was an issue early on, right? As people were still getting used to Patrick Graham's scheme, and then the way they tightened it up. All season long, we were talking about, is that secondary going to be good? And look how they were playing at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So if you can keep your defense intact, that's huge, seeing you have 3 offensive coaches in the division, right? Get that defense going, because Kansas City is now a defensive team. They're in the Super Bowl because of their defense. So get that going, figure out what you're going to do at quarterback. I mean, that's the big thing. And once you do that, figure out what type of system you're going to run. But when AP said, I'm not stupid, I know who to get the ball to, Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. Now they got to get the Josh Jacobs situation taken care of. But him having the feel is hugely important. But again, now, instead of riding on emotion and riding on that Raiders, now you've got to do 17 weeks of tactical planning. You've got to pre-plan all of that tactical stuff and how you are going to manage the cadence of all of it, right? And that's where Antonio and his experience as a player and as a head coach is really going to be challenged. And hopefully he's got some coaches on his staff saying, hey, let's push the guys this way. You feel me? We listen to you. Listen to us now, and let's continue to get this thing rolling.
One guy that Antonio has listened to for very good reason is Maxx Crosby, and understanding that Max is the face of this franchise, is the heartbeat of this franchise, is the spiritual, physical, whatever leader of the guys in that locker room. And Max got a little bit of help this year, which was nice. That was a big thing internally. We got to find a guy who can run with Max. You look at Malcolm Kuntz, a breakout season.
How about that?
I know, specifically when AP comes into the big chair there. What does having Malcolm in the mix, playing at the level that he did, do for number 98 on the outside?
Well, I mean, look, every Batman needs a Robin.
Absolutely.
Right? Every great pass rusher has had somebody to steer someone his way. Think about Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. You think about some of the great tandems. It is hard for somebody to do that solo. Like, look at Aaron Donald this year when so many people left. And it took a while for those younger people to support the Kingmaker. I call him the Kingmaker because he's made a lot of people a lot of money. And that's where Max is. So now he's got some people, he's got some princes to help the king. And the fact that they feed off of him and they understand what he does well and they uplift him, he's going to reciprocate tenfold. If you think he plays hard and is successful now with all the moves and everything he continues to learn, he's going to keep getting better the more talent that comes on this team and the more points the offense can possibly score. That's important.
A better version, a scarier version of Maxx Crosby is like unfathomable, and it's so crazy because every single year he gets better and better and better and adds more, more tools to the toolbox, so to speak. And seeing what he's going to do in 2024 with a little bit of help, a few more points on offense is going to be a lot of fun.